Welcome to the box score. We've got week 4 dead ahead. I know 3 games in the books, Murph, and it's getting pretty exciting. I know we're not playoff time yet, but a lot of people had their first region game last Friday night or Thursday night.
Yeah, and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people already figuring who's going to the playoffs and who's going to be at home and away in the first round and that kind of thing. It's all about predicting, but what really matters is what happens on the field, isn't it?
Definitely is. We want to thank Blackwell Royalty and the Josh Kirby team for being our title sponsor for the box score. And Murphy, let's go ahead and get into some KFC Taco Bell of Gordonsville and Smithville stats of the week. Of course, our first game, a big win by the Macon County Tigers and Kyle Shoulders. They go on the road to Smithville and win it 21-13. First downs, the rushes and yards. Murphy is really one thing that steps out big for the Tigers, averaging right at 5 yards a rush. That's the blue and white Tigers.
You know, I had watched DeKalb County play Smith County on TV and are actually live, and I noticed that they matched up pretty well as far as size was concerned. And I was at that Macon County DeKalb County ball game, and I was really impressed with Macon County's line. Coach Kyle Shoulders brought a very good game plan to Tiger Country. And consequently, it was a fun game to watch. Either team could have won it, right down at the wire there. But nonetheless, a good mark for Macon County as they go into. Actually, they play at home this week against Trousdale County, so they've got a lot of confidence going their way right now.
Gabe Borders had an outstanding night for Macon County, accounting for nearly 200 yards of offense, both rushing and receiving for Macon County, and really was a big difference maker in that ball game. For Macon County, Kyle Shockley, we see he had 82 yards through the air, 46 yards, but then when you look at Gabe Borders and the night he had, Murphy, it's a pretty special night against a quality team.
Pretty stout indeed, and actually I think both teams had a couple of players out, a couple of key players out, but Macon County got past that maybe a little bit easier than DeKalb County did, and there was so much riding on that ball game. I think everybody has pretty much surrendered the region championship to Upperman, and so whoever won this game was probably going to end up getting a home field game in the first round of the playoffs, and it looks like that's going to go to Macon County.
Of course, if Macon and DeKalb were to finish tied, then Macon would have the tiebreaker with that head-to-head win. When you look at the Macon County, and they've already got a big win, Murphy, over East Robertson, a quality team that won against Trousdale County last week. And you could probably make the argument that Trousdale County may go 0-6 to start the year, looking at their schedule. Of course, that's not an automatic, but they have struggled thus far, have the Yellow Jackets. But still, anytime you beat Trousdale County, and just like Macon's got Trousdale this week, Trousdale has been struggling. Numbers are low, I think high 20s as far as the amount of kids on the roster, and that's something you don't hear very much us say on this show. Is Trousdale County down?
I talked to Jerry Richmond yesterday on the phone, and I asked him, I said, Jerry, when's the last time Trousdale County started the season 0-3? And he laughed a little bit, but it wasn't funny because he said that dates all the way back to 1957.
Wow.
When Big Daddy Jim Satterfield was an assistant coach at Trousdale County High School. So, and I don't think they've got a lot to look forward to when they go to Lafayette this coming Friday as well. Macon County's a pretty solid football team.
They've got a good club, but that's a fierce rivalry, Murph.
Sure.
Looking at the Sequatchie County, Cannon County, of course, the line's up 19-6 in that game. Sequatchie County scores the final 35 points of that game. Peyton Campbell for the Indians, 156 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, and adds 3 more touchdowns on 112 yards rushing. So an outstanding night for Peyton Campbell at the quarterback position for Sequatchie County.
Cannon County with a 2-touchdown lead early in that ball game, and like you said, then Sequatchie reeled off 34, 35 points in a row, and that's got to be disheartening. Cannon County with a bit of a habit of starting really strong, but not finishing in the third and fourth quarters, and hopefully they can get that fixed in time for the game against Webb of Bell Buckle.
Looking at Ryan Perkins, another great night for him. He's the bell cow for Canyon County, 16 rushes, 147 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Kobe Miller, 12 rushes for 50 yards, and that third touchdown that Canyon County put on the board. Let's go ahead and look at some more stats. Watertown at Westmoreland. Murphy, that was at Westmoreland. Kittrell, Sizemore, and Stafford, a touchdown each, but pretty impressive win for the Eagles at home. And when you look, you know, last year they lost a lot of close games, Murphy, but it seems like they've turned the corner and winning those games this year.
I got a lot of early reports about Westmoreland and how much better they were this year. They are this year than they were last year, and obviously looking at that score against a pretty good Watertown team, it's pretty evident that the Eagles are flying high this year for sure.
Only about an hour and 55-minute game, Murphy. I think there were only about 4 total passes the entire game. I think Westmoreland threw 1, Watertown 3. Had a friend that went to that ball game and said it was a quick one because both teams, you know, they ran it, and it was no secret they're going to run it. And, you know, that's a little easier said than done because, you know, the opposing defenses were lining up trying to stop that. The best I remember, not a lot of turnovers in that ball game. But still a very impressive Westmoreland win. And they've got the Owls of Smith County on Friday night in Westmoreland.
That's not going to be a giveaway by any means, but Westmoreland traditionally has been a run-oriented football team. You know, they've got another Perry at the helm of that program, right. And we've seen plenty of Roger and Trey Perry over the years, and they don't like to put it in the air any more than they have to.
Let's go ahead and look at the Smith County at Maplewood stats. Of course, Smith County goes to Maplewood on Thursday night, gets a big win. And Kylan Johnson celebrates his 17th birthday. The junior goes 5 rushes, 103 yards, has a big punt return and a big kickoff return, which set up 2 more scores for the Owls. As Bryce Curry, 7 rushes, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. Caden Powell, 3 for 7 in the air. Not a lot of passing yards, but he did have a touchdown rushing. But Murphy, what was more impressive is the Owls up front. At halftime, 20 rushes for 240 yards, and if you'll use your calculator mind, that's 12 yards a rush that the Owls had in blowing out to a 26-0 win, a lead at half.
Obviously, they were pretty salty on the defensive side. I think the first shutout of the year, is that right? Right. And that's something a head coach always likes to see. And whoever the defensive coordinator is could put his head down and go to sleep pretty quick.
That was Jason Harville. Of course, he's awful proud of that. You look, they had about 180 yards. Of course, the Owls held them to 25 rushes, 16 yards. But Darden, the quarterback, 13 of 25, 151 yards. And Murphy, he made some outstanding passes where the Owls had some pressure on him defensively, but he would throw that ball to a spot on the field, and his receivers always seemed to be there. You know, a lot of time, even before the break, he was letting the ball go, and they had a big night. Yes, they were shut out, moved the ball a lot between the 20s, but then couldn't cash in once they got close to the scoring zone.
If I'm not mistaken, Coach Davis, the second-year coach at Maplewood, played at Ezel Harding and was a member of that team that scored 60-something points in the championship game. He was a wide receiver on that team, so he's certainly sold on the aerial game.
Let's go ahead and look at Oliver Springs and Gordonsville. That game I thought was going to be a close one, was listening to it. Gordonsville goes down, scores 7-0. Oliver Springs comes right back, 7-7. What does the Gordonsville do? They reel off the last 34 points of the game to win it going away over at Turney Ford Field, 41-7. Matthew Albritton accounts for you know, some touchdowns, but Bryson Greer, a big night, looking at 17, 18 yards of rush, 9 rushes, 157 yards, a couple of touchdowns. And Will Dudney from that defensive end position, he had 1 reception for 15 yards, but he had 10 tackles, including 3 tackles for loss.
Larry Green, a good friend of mine who coached the Oliver Springs middle school program for a long time, had been the head coach of the high school varsity for the last 5 or 6 years, I guess, and had done very well at that level as well. But he decided to step aside. They got a new head coach, pretty much a new staff in there. And I'm guessing a lot of the kids are having to learn a new system on both sides of the ball.
We'll take a look at the region scores when we return to the box score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
If you're a commercial driver looking for a company to call home, Huff and Puff Trucking is the company for you. Our employees are professional and dedicated individuals that take pride in what they do. We offer an outstanding pay package with a dispatch structure that maximizes your home time. To learn more about a company that knows you by name and treats you like family, call us at 1-800-965-5033 or visit our website at huffpufftrucking.com.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
At DTC, we're proud to provide the communication and entertainment services you need to get the most from today's technology.
Earn a $25 bill credit for you and $25 for your favorite local school when you add or upgrade internet service or TV with DTC.
Get the technology you want, backed by local customer service from neighbors you know and trust. DTC Communications, your total communications provider.
Welcome back to the Box Score. Terry Collins along with Murphy Fair. Let's go ahead and look at some Sonica Carthage scores first for week 1. Joe Burns over Red Boiling 38-7. Of course, Gordonsville also gets the win over Oliver Springs. Open date was Clay County. But you know, when you look at this, probably a little more one-sided. We thought that might be a closer game than that, Murphy.
I know Tom Atkins, the head coach at Joe Burns for a long, long time, a former Red Devil himself in the offensive backfield, was certainly glad to get that win. I think they had a couple of losses going into that game, and I'm sure there were some question marks right there, even against Red Boiling, but a nice win for Joe Burns nonetheless.
Let's look at the Sonic of Carthage Region 4 2A scores. East Robertson, as we told you, went to Charleston County, got a big win 24-6. And then Harpeth over Whites Creek 17-6.
East Robertson with a really good football team this year. They've got a new head coach. Harpeth and Whites Creek are bringing up the rear in that particular region, I guess you might say. But East Robertson in a pretty good place right now with their win over Trousdale County. Their only major fear, I guess, is well, they've already beaten Westmoreland too, haven't they?
No, they haven't.
No, that's probably going to be for the regional championship then.
You know, you look at East Robertson, their only loss is to Macon County at home, 43-33 back in week 1 of the season. Let's go ahead and look at the Sonica Carthage Region 4 3A scores. Giles County big over Grundy County. Of course, community had the open date.
Not much to comment about that. Giles County probably the best team in the region, and Grundy and maybe community tied for the other end of that ranking.
Let's go ahead and look at the Region 5 3A scores. East Nashville big over Stratford. Of course, Smith County an earlier win over Maplewood, and then Jackson County in a nail-biter 7-2. You don't see that score much in high school football.
That one had to go extra innings too, probably, right?
It was, but still for Coach Loftus and his team, a win and a much-needed win, I'm sure, for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, there are a lot of people already starting to talk about the 3A championship game maybe being a repeat of East Nashville and Alcoa. Right now they seem to be the teams to beat in 3A for sure.
Let's go ahead and look at Region 4 4A. Sonica Carthage ringing those scores. Upland just keeps on rolling. Adam Kane's Bees get a 34-0 win over Cumberland County. Then Stone Memorial over a struggling Livingston team 42-14. And you know, I was talking to Matt Dyer earlier, and the Owls go to Walker Valley next week. And, you know, that's the one team that they're looking at replacing, and they're looking at replacing them with Livingston. Of course, Livingston and Smith County paid, you know, they played many, many years, sometimes in the same district or region, but they're looking at getting the Wildcats back on the schedule.
Good, we get to hear Hogeye,
Right.
TNT a lot, right?
For sure.
I think Upperman's playing Trousdale County this week, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right?
No, Trousdale's playing Macon.
Macon, that's right.
They may play a week or two down the road, though. Let's look at some other notable scores. York on top of Monterey. A lot of people felt like Monterey would beat the Dragons, but they didn't. Lebanon, a big win over Cookeville, 41-14. Friendship over DCA. And Gary Rankin's got Boyd Buchanan headed in the right direction. They go against CAK and beat them 28-7. And then one that you and I kind of glad that the 18-game winning streak got broken with a loss as MBA beats McCauley.
Even with 17 players on the roster from Canada, McCauley had to suffer a loss to MBA, and they beat MBA twice last year during the regular season and in the Blue Cross Bowl too, so that had to be a very happy ride home for the Big Red.
When you look at Boyd Buchanan, the things that Gary Rankin has done already there, you know, they've got great facility. Of course, they're a private school, but Murphy, are they a threat to get to the Blue Cross Bowl?
I think so. The eastern part of the state traditionally has always been the weaker side. Nashville and teams around Nashville, and even one or two like Lausanne over on the western side of the state, the ones that dominate that particular Division II AA group of teams. But right now, you know, it's Boyd Buchanan, maybe Webb, CAK, kind of taken out of the mix a little bit, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Gary's not spending a night in Chattanooga, which is where he lives anyway. So that'd be a safe bet, wouldn't it?
Right. When you look at Friendship Christian, Murphy, do you think they're good enough to make it back to the Blue Cross Bowl?
That'll be interesting. They're in Division II Single A, but they've got a really good quarterback whose grandfather just happens to be the head softball coach at the University of Tennessee, and they've got a really good receiver this year too, and they're throwing the ball awfully well. That's a pretty good score over the defending state champions, Donaldson Christian.
Let's go ahead and look at some upcoming games, and we'll talk about those. Gordonsville heading to Eagleville, Houston County at Joe Burns, Cornerfield at Clay County, Red Boiling Springs at Cosby. Any of those games be nail biters there, Murphy?
I think the bottom one there, I think Red Boiling's actually got a chance against Cosby. Cosby, a team more well known for their basketball program, as you well know, because some years ago, Smith County used to go to a basketball tournament at Cosby, which just happens to be down the road from Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. But most of those, I think, are probably going to be one-sided games, and I think Gordonsville and maybe Clay County, the only two teams out of the 8 that will go deep in the playoffs.
You look at them clashing in week 11 for that region championship. That's what it looks like so far. Not that Joe Burns or Red Bowling couldn't, but I just don't think they're on their level.
Not hardly at all.
Let's go ahead and look at the Region 4 2A games. Of course, their Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week on DTC Sports is Watertown at DeKalb County, and another big rivalry game.
That's one that Watertown's won a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 years, I think, and I think DeKalb's probably in a situation to maybe get that trophy if they had one back in Smithville, but who knows? You know, you never know until they line up on the field and play, but I know Coach Steve Trapp will certainly have his kids ready for that one.
Smith County at Westmoreland, Murphy, that should be a test of wheels. Both of those teams love to run the football.
I think so. Westmoreland, a team that's now in 2A, Smith County still at the 3A level, but there's been a lot of great wars between those two schools over the years.
Macon County traveling to the Creek Bank to play against Trousdale County. Sycamore's at Harpeth, Cheatham County at East Robertson, and then Whites Creek at Clarksville Northwest. Any of those games besides the ones we talked about, Murph, you think will be close ones?
No, most of those programs, Sycamore, Harpeth, Cheatham County, all 3 of those teams in Cheatham County, and they have just really haven't done a whole lot on the football field of late. Whites Creek and Clarksville Northwest, the same thing. I think Northwest has a new football coach either last year or this year, but just not traditionally strong programs at all.
Looking at Region 4 3A, Webb School at Cannon County, Jackson County traveling to Dunlap to play Sequatchie County. Grundy at Bledsoe, that's always a border rival right there. Community at Perry County and Giles County at Franklin County.
I don't think any of those games will be particularly close. I think Cannon's got a chance, even though Webb School is much better than they've been in the past. I think Cannon certainly has a good chance of getting their first win this coming Friday night. Sequatchie County shouldn't have any trouble with Jackson County the same. Bledsoe over Grundy. Community Perry, I don't know. That could be a yawner. And certainly Giles County, I don't think will have any trouble with the folks in Winchester.
Going to say traveling down to Winchester. Of course, that's right on the Tennessee and Alabama border. Let's look at the Region 5 3A first. Smith County at Westmoreland, Maplewood at Overton, Stratford at McGavock, Hillsborough at East Nashville, Jackson County at Sequatchie. Not sure, besides that top one there, Murph, that we'll have a lot of close games out of those 5.
I don't think so. The second one kind of stands out to me because one of my favorite coaches, Arcente Broom, was at Maplewood for a long, long time. He's in his second year now as the head coach at Nashville Overton, and that should be a pretty one-sided game, but I'm sure he's got so many ties to Maplewood, I don't think he'll run up the score in that one unless there's just that much of a mismatch.
Let's look at the Region 4 4A games. Watertown at DeKalb, Macon at Trousdale, Cumberland County up in North City on Thursday night, Stone Memorial at Monterey, Livingston at York, Fayetteville up, and of course that Livingston at York. Livingston's down, but that's always a big border.
I think so. That Cumberland County at Lenoir City, I think both of those teams are still looking for their first win this season. Stone Memorial, that's one you would think they would win, but if Monterey plays as well as they have in a couple of their games already, it could be close. Livingston-York is kind of like the Carthage-Gordonsville rivalry. It'll be a slugfest for sure. And York's been playing so well of late, and Livingston's still struggling so much, it wouldn't surprise me if York comes away a winner there. And the next one will be a pretty good test for Upperman. Fayetteville with so much speed, but I don't think they've got enough speed to beat the Bees.
We'll have an interview with Cannon County head coach Matt Daniel when we return to the box score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
Opioid overdoses continue to claim lives in Tennessee. Naloxone, an opioid reversal drug, can save lives. Call the Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition for a free, quick, and confidential training. Also, if you are struggling with substance use disorder due to your alcohol and drug use, help is only a phone call away. Call the Tennessee Red Line. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master, certified, and experienced heavy-duty maintenance techs, maintenance supervisor, entry-level and experienced miners and exploration infill drillers, grade operator, electricians, laboratory and metallurgical technician, senior metallurgist, and more. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and lots more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Welcome back to the box score. Terry Collins along with Murphy Fair. We've got Cannon County head coach Matt Daniel with us. And Coach, I know a very disappointing region loss for you last Friday night or Thursday night, whatever night you played there. But still, I think your team is showing improvement. against a team that a lot of people thought would be second in your region.
Thanks, Terry. I appreciate that compliment. You know, we had our chances Friday night. We were up 19-6 at one point, thinking, okay, just a little bit more, we got this one in hand. But mistakes after in the third quarter made it where we just could not overcome that. And Sequatchie had a good game plan for us. They made some adjustments in the second half, so the score stood there, 19-41, I think was the final on that one. Not where we wanted to be at. Our kids were super excited in the first half, and we just we're one step here, two step there away from clinching that one. But yeah, not the way we wanted to end that one, but time to move on to next week.
Coach, I know it's difficult, but, you know, losing the way you have in games where you've been ahead so much, and that kind of plays on the fans, you know. They keep thinking, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? But I know you're not nearly as concerned about the fans as you are your players. How are they taking that? Are they getting harder and harder to keep motivated and think positive about stuff?
Well, that's one thing that we've talked about, and don't sit around thinking about when things are going to go bad for us. Just play, just compete, minimize mistakes. And that's something that we talked about last week going into Sequatchie. That's stuff that we've already talked about this week as we go into our next game. And yeah, it's one of those things that once mistakes start happening, we put our heads down a little bit, and we got to stop thinking like that and say, okay, minimize mistakes, next play, next series. Let's don't give our opponent short fields. Let's get some first downs. There was instances Friday night where we were first and I believe 30-something, and we almost got out of it. So we got down to like 4th and 3, but it was still so far on the our Sequatchie side of the field that we had to punt it away, and giving them short fields is not good. They've got a good offense, and they can move the ball at will there.
Coach, when you look at going to Dunlap, I feel like that's one of the special places to play with the turf, and you know, their stadium is huge. They always have a big crowd there. And when you look at the surroundings with the mountains kind of in the background, it is truly a special place to play high school football.
It really is. You know, a friend of mine was the head coach there at one time, Chad Barker. So when I went to Georgia for a while, I'd come up and see the facilities that he had there. And it was a nice environment then, great environment now, great place to play a football game. I love how Sequatchie has everything set up. There's a good. They've done athletics right. Seem like they're doing some other things right too. All their schools are there. The football field is the center point. They're very proud of that football field. You can tell with their stadium. So I think something that other teams like us aspire to have one of these days is something like Sequatchie has.
Coach, I know last year at this time we were almost where we are right now. You did pick up a win against Sequatchie via COVID, but the season turned at this time last year, playing Webb School out of Bell Buckle. They come to Woodbury this year on Friday night, and hopefully a win there will get this season turned around like it did last year.
I was fortunate last year to kind of get things rocking and rolling. This year, I think Webb's better than they were. They got a new head coach, Evan Gay. I think he's done a good job. They look better on film. We match up really well up front. I think if we can just overcome that obstacle of if we do get a lead, just to keep on pressing the issue and don't let up. And yes, looking for a W this week.
Given the fact that you did have a win against them last year, and the kids know that, is that something you have to be overly cautious for, that they don't go into this too overconfident? You want them to have a positive attitude, but not so much that they don't play hard.
That's correct. You don't want to go in thinking, okay, since we won last year, this is where our schedule starts to open up for us. You can't think like that as a coach or as a player. You just got, it's the next one on our schedule. We got a game plan like we normally do, and our coaches met just like we normally do. Our players practice like we normally have on on our certain days that we go in shells and that sort of thing. So that hasn't changed. Not going to change no matter who we play. This is a short week because of Labor Day for school. So that's something we always have to overcome. We talk about in coaches' meetings, hey, what's different about this week than a typical week? Anything surprising going on Fridays, that sort of thing. Trying to keep it the same. I thrive on routines. I think players thrive on routines as well.
Coach, when you look, Mr. Perkins has had a great start to the season, had a great year a year ago. I know this is a young man that's the focal point of your offense, and Coach, he just keeps producing, and it seems like, when you get his numbers week after week, he continues to do well. I know he cannot do that without other people doing their jobs, and sometimes I guess it's unfair that we talk about people of his caliber because of the things that they do, because they've got to have the blocking up front, not only from them, but your tight ends, your wing backs, your receivers, and when you look at that, I guess you probably maybe sell those other kids short, but that's it is what it is, and I know that he just seems to be improving not only from last year but to this year.
Well, I think sometimes you have to tell our guys, hey, there's only one football to carry, and there's only one person, unless you run an option play or something like that, that can carry that ball. Just happens to be Ryan back there toting that load. So he has a lot of expectations that, hey, you're going to have ball security, you're going to have the ability to run what we tell you to run, and you're going to do what do the play like run the play like you're supposed to run, and get behind those big guys that are blocking their tail for you up front. And I think he does a good job of going up to those guys and saying, hey, fellas, thank y'all. Y'all did a great job that time. And blocking up front, doing your job. Because we all, at the end of the day, we want the win. You don't want to sit there and go, well, that was a good run, but we didn't win. I think Ryan will be the first one to tell you, look, thank you for the acclimates and all that stuff for the stats and all, but we want to put W's on the board as well, because this team, we want to take this team as far as we can. And Friday night, second quarter, we're looking like, okay, yeah, we're going to put our first region win away, and then we don't. So, yeah, the guys you're talking about, they do a great job. People like Josh Mingle, Talon Paxson are senior guys that really solidify the offensive line along with Cole Higgins. Those guys do a great job for us up front.
Coach, what's the injury situation as we enter week 4 of the season?
We came away pretty good from Sequatchie. Some guys nursing some nagging things like some strained muscles, that sort of thing. So no injuries from Friday night, major injuries.
Coach, when you look, I know that it seems that, it'd be hard for you to get second place in the region. Not saying you can't. Of course, mathematically that's still possible, but it looks as if Giles County's the cream of the crop in the region, at least through the first 3 weeks. But still, you still got a lot to play for. You still got a playoff berth on the line. And although you were disappointed with the loss at Sequatchie last Friday night, the season's not over.
Absolutely. It's part of life. And like I tell my players, you can have all the plans that you want ready, and you can be thinking on down the line, comparing things on paper, and it doesn't work out. And that's the same thing that's going to happen in life to him one day as a man dealing with family issues. So this only prepares you that. It's not, I don't know if it makes it any better at the moment, but it definitely gets us ready, getting these guys long-term, and that's ultimately what we want to do, is get these guys ready. They signed on for something like football. They're about to sign on for something called life. And life's going to take you in different directions no matter how good the plan you have made.
Matt, being able to play at home would be nice after being on the road the last couple of weeks, and that's another major factor you have. The people from Bell Buckle are going to have to make the trip over here instead of you loading up the school bus.
That's right. Always home field advantage is great. Our student section hopefully will be wild and rambunctious like they usually are. And we look forward to being back at home, that's for sure.
Well, Coach Matt Daniel, we appreciate you being with us here on the Box Score, and best of luck on Friday night.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll take a break. Be back with more You're watching The Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
So, go check it out.
Deterring crime. It's the first job of a home security system from DTC Security. For just $49.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation. There's never been a better time to get started. Let us help protect your home.
So?
A lot of nice stuff and an alarm.
Don't delay. Call DTC Security now or visit us online.
Don't be fooled. Vaping is just another way to deliver nicotine to your lungs. Learn the facts and escape the vape. We get it. Quitting is hard, but getting help is easy. Call the Tennessee Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW for free counseling and cessation patches. Sign up for the free Tennessee Tobacco Quit line program and let us help you quit for good. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master, certified, and experienced heavy-duty maintenance techs, maintenance supervisor, entry-level and experienced miners and exploration infill drillers, grade operator, electricians, laboratory and metallurgical technician, senior metallurgist, and more. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and lots more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Welcome back here to the Box Score, final segment time. And Murphy, we're going to look at our game of the week. Huff and Puff Trucking sponsors that. Watertown at DeKalb. As you can see there on the graphic on the screen, playing in Smithville. DeKalb coming off disappointing loss, as is Watertown. It'll be the Purple Tigers against the Black and Gold Tigers in Smithville on Friday night.
They could call that one the DeKalb County Super Bowl, like we do Carthage and Gordonsville. But right. I look for that to be a pretty good game. You don't have to, as a coach, you don't have to do a lot and say a lot to get your kids fired up for this one.
Of course, Watertown, close to the DeKalb County and Wilson County line.
Well, that's true.
They're over in Wilson County, but not much.
Just a stone's throw.
That's true. That is true. It's not far from Alexandria to Watertown down Highway 70.
My geography is a little better than that. Thank you for catching that.
Let's go ahead and look at the series history there, Murph. Series dates back to 1963, 44th meeting. And Watertown, a one-sided advantage, 32-10-1 in those meetings. They won last year's meeting in Watertown, 38-20. Watertown's won 11 of the last 12 matchup. Gavin Webster, an outstanding 8-1 against DeKalb County, and Steve Trapp. DeKalb County has more losses to Watertown than any other school. That's kind of a bulletin board kind of thing right there, Murph.
Yeah, it is, and I know Coach Trapp will certainly have his kids fired up for that one for sure, won't they? 11
total shutouts. Back to 1987, it was 0-0 at the end of regulation. The points per game in the series, Watertown averaging 22, DeKalb averaging 11. And, you know, we've noticed through the years that Watertown really hangs their hat on the defensive side of the ball. And defensive coordinator Josh Hackett seems to always have his charges ready.
He's kept that tradition alive, certainly.
Definitely has. Murph, we're going to kind of look at some of your picks now. I know that maybe a lot of these games are maybe one-sided, but still, 3 of these 4 games right here are going to be toughies.
They really are. I've already said I think Cannon County gets its first win of the season against Webb School of Bell Buckle. But the next 3 are all coin tossers. They could go either way. Eagleville, a team that relatively new the last 10 or 15 years as a football playing school. And most of that was at the 2A level. Now they've dropped down to 1A, and that could develop into a pretty good rivalry between those 2 schools. They're not that far apart. And I think even though it's at Eagleville, I've got to pick Gordonsville in that one. Smith County, Westmoreland, the fact that it's being played in Eagle Country, I think evens everything on that one. It's one of those that the defense for Smith County has got to bring an A game to the field on that one, because Westmoreland's not going to throw the ball probably a whole lot. They're going to grind it out, and it'll be a pounding in the line. But I think Smith County's line be it offensive or defensive, will be the difference in that ball game. I'm going to go with the Owls on that one.
Murph, just a little nugget here. Javier Gaspar, the 350-pound nose guard for the Owls, supposed to be back on Friday night. He's been out the last 2 weeks. I think that's noticeable. It really wasn't that noticeable as far as in the Maplewood game because it was a lot of pass rushing and they stuffed the run. But against DeKalb, that was very big. I think that he wasn't in there. And DeKalb had some success, if you remember in that ball game, between the tackles in his absence.
His absence was certainly felt in that ball game. And if he's back, I think that just is a world beater right there as far as Smith County football is concerned.
Not saying that, you know, but still, when you lose a man of that caliber, you know, and he's a potential All-State, not saying he is, but he's a potential All-State candidate because of what he does. He's just a junior. You know, that could loom large against a team. Of course, Westmoreland traditionally runs that wing tee. You know, they hide the football. They give you a lot of misdirection and buck sweeps and all that. So you got to be very disciplined. And about the time you start cheating up the line of scrimmage, guess what, Murph? They'll sneak somebody out of there and throw an 80-yard touchdown.
Yep. Yeah. The Perrys know what they're doing when it comes to coaching, be it basketball or football, either one, for sure.
That's for sure. Of course, there's a Perry guy at Westmoreland girls that won the district a year ago. You know, and of course, there's only 4 teams in that district, and we'll get that a little bit later, November, December. But Perry is kind of synonymous with Westmoreland.
It is, and there's another Perry that's at coaching basketball at the college level, somewhere in the Northeast, I think. I've forgotten where, but I saw an interesting article about that just last week. The last game up there, we just talked about that, Watertown and DeKalb County. It's always a battle when those two get together. I think the fact that it's being played in Smithville, again, is probably a bit of difference, but there's so much rivalry in that you can pretty much throw the records away and everything else that you use to judge who's going to win or lose a football game, but I'm going to have to go with DeKalb.
Murphy, last week we saw lightning interfere with a lot of games.
Oh my gosh,
they had to come back on Saturday and play some of those games. Some of those games were done after 2 or 3 quarters, and then even one game I know was played on Sunday.
Right.
How much does that affect a team going forward trying to prepare for this week?
Especially it being a short week, because they didn't have practice on Monday. I don't know. Part of me wants to say what happened to one team happened to the other team as well, but that may not necessarily be the case when they face someone else who had a normal night. But it was like that all over the state. And then looking at the weather coverage the next day, there were a lot of places across Middle Tennessee and even West Tennessee that had 5, 6, even 7 inches of rain that night. And obviously it destroyed some fields with that much moisture on the field. But that's a good point. It'll be interesting to see. I know I was at Riverdale, and Blackman ended up upsetting Riverdale in that game. And I don't know, I think a lot of people thought that that one was a dead even game, and I don't know how much the weather had to do with that. I know a lot of people, myself included, got a little, I lost my patience and went home before the kickoff started because I knew I could watch a game at the house.
We want to thank Justin Malden and our fine sponsor, title sponsor, the Blackwell Realty and Auction, Josh Kirby team. For Murphy Fair, I'm Terry Collins. Good night on The Box Score.